I never thought my own family would weaponize my son against me. One lie turned into a storm of accusations, tearing everything apart. I stayed silent for too long, but now you'll finally hear the truth.
Welcome to Reddit Toxic Family Telltales channel. New episode every day.
My cousin humiliated my autistic son in front of an entire crowd, and when I tried to protect him, she went as far as calling CPS, hoping to rip him away from me. What she didn't realize was how fast things would come crashing back down on her. When my cousin Vanessa was planning her wedding, the very first person I told was my son, Mikey. He's on the autism spectrum and needs a little extra support. So usually, friends and even some family would politely ask me to leave him at home, which meant he almost never got to experience these things with me. But I thought Vanessa would be different, and when I told Mikey, his face absolutely lit up. He started bouncing, clapping his hands, shouting, "Really, Daddy? Really? I can go." His excitement was contagious. I picked him up, twirled him around, and yelled, "Yes!" while he giggled like it was Christmas morning. One of the beautiful things about Mikey is how much joy he finds in little moments. So on the way to the rehearsal, I prepped him. No talking during the ceremony. Remember, it's the bride's day. We're just here to watch. Okay? He nodded along, listening carefully. I really thought we'd be fine. Halfway through rehearsal, Mikey suddenly gave me his biggest smile, the kind that takes over his whole face when he's truly happy. I squeezed his hand to let him know I was happy too. We stayed completely quiet. Radio silence. But then Vanessa reached the front of the aisle and out of nowhere, she shrieked, "Excuse me, what is he doing here?" My chest dropped. I looked at Mikey, who was still smiling, blissfully unaware she was talking about him. Everyone froze, and instead of just moving on like a normal bride would, she spun on her fiancé and screeched, "I thought you told him not to come." By then, she was literally pointing at my son. Mikey's smile faded, his eyes welling up. The guests whispered. A handful looked disgusted by her outburst, but most of them, they were nodding, agreeing, like my son being there was some horrible offense. I wanted to explode. I wanted to scream back at her, to tell everyone exactly what I thought of her. But instead, I stayed silent. I chose to be the role model Mikey needed. I took his hand and we walked out. The moment we stepped outside, Mikey broke down. "Why would she say that about you, Daddy? That was so mean." My throat closed. Thank God he thought she'd been insulting me and not him. I knelt down, wiped his tears and said, "Son, sometimes people are mean because they don't like themselves. That was just the rehearsal." 2 days later came the actual wedding. Luckily, Mikey thought the rehearsal was the real thing, so he didn't ask questions when I left him with a sitter. Now, I'm a big believer in marriage. So for the first half of the day, I let Vanessa have her picture-perfect moment. But when it came time for dinner, I tapped my glass for a speech. The room went dead silent. Vanessa caught my eye and mouthed, "Thank you for not bringing him." I smiled back, though not for the reason she thought. I raised my glass and said, "As you can see, I'm here today without my wonderful son, Mikey. A lot of you didn't want him here, but he still wanted to say something to his cousin." Then I pulled out my phone and hit play. It was a recording I'd secretly made of Mikey, talking in his sweet 7-year-old voice about how happy he was for Vanessa and her husband. His words were pure innocence, pure joy. I started tearing up, and so did a lot of people in that room. Everyone, except Vanessa. Her face was twisted with rage, like she might explode. Still, she fake smiled, clinked her glass, and pretended to go along with it. I thought that was the end of it, that I'd made my point. But the very next day, there was a knock at my door, and it wasn't Vanessa, it was CPS. They walked right in, clipboard in hand, scrutinizing every corner of my home. Mikey's mattress on the floor? They wrote it down as concerning, even though it was to prevent overstimulation. Plastic covers on the furniture? Noted as if it wasn't for his accidents. Safety locks on cupboards? Marked as suspicious instead of protective. I tried explaining. He's autistic. These are accommodations. The young woman looked at me like I was lying. She muttered under her breath, "That's what they all say," then called her supervisor. Minutes later, she told me they were issuing an emergency removal order. My son was being taken. I begged them to place him with his grandmother. His routine, his meds, his comfort things, all of it was at her house. They didn't listen. The next 72 hours were hell. My house was quiet, full of Mikey's toys and clothes, but no Mikey. I was angry, I was sick, and deep down I knew Vanessa had done this. I started calling everyone I could. Family lawyer. My mom, who confirmed Mikey wasn't with her. His pediatrician, who was furious when I told her. Everyone rallied around me. Nobody messes with my son. Nobody. I gathered stacks of documents. Medical records, therapy notes, school IEPs, letters from his doctor, even support from my neighbor Morgan, a special ed teacher who's known Mikey for years. By the time I met with my lawyer Elizabeth Reyes, a specialist in disability cases, I was ready to fight. Elizabeth listened carefully, then asked, "So, you believe your cousin made this report out of revenge for what happened at the wedding?" "Yes," I said. "The timing's too perfect." Less than 24 hours later, CPS shows up. She nodded. It happens more often than you'd think. But don't worry, we'll fight this. They'll have to hold a hearing within 72 hours. Hearing, witnesses, documents. Suddenly I was in full battle mode. And then, the phone rang again. It was Mikey's assigned CPS worker, Jordan. Finally, someone who sounded kind. He told me Mikey was with a foster family trained for autistic kids, and that I'd get a supervised visit the next day. That night, I barely slept. His room was empty, so I lay on the floor beside his bed, clutching his blanket just to feel close to him. The next day, I showed up early, holding his favorite stuffed octopus, Squish. When they brought him in, I nearly lost it. He looked so tired. But when he saw me, his whole face lit up. "Daddy!" He jumped into my arms and I held him like I'd never let go again. But when the hour ended, he melted down, sobbing, clinging to me, screaming, "I want my daddy!" As staff pulled him away. My heart broke in a way I can't even explain. I sat in my car afterward and cried like a child. But I wasn't done fighting. Because Vanessa had no idea what storm she had unleashed. And when we got to court, let's just say, the truth started coming out. When it came time for closing statements, my lawyer Elizabeth stood tall, her voice calm but cutting. She told the court, while Mikey's care might look unusual to someone who doesn't understand autism, every single thing in his home is designed to support his needs. The only so-called evidence against my client is the word of a woman with a personal grudge. A woman who made this report immediately after being embarrassed at her own wedding. The judge took a short recess, 20 minutes. But for me, felt like 20 years. I sat there, shaking, my brain replaying Vanessa's twisted lies over and over again. Finally, Judge Williams returned. He looked straight at me and said, "Mr. Williams, I am dismissing the emergency removal order. Based on the evidence presented, I see no indication of neglect or harm. Quite the opposite, in fact." The relief hit me so hard I nearly toppled out of my chair. My chest felt light for the first time in days. But then he continued, "I am ordering a follow-up home visit with a developmental specialist to ensure all accommodations are appropriate. Until then, your son will be placed with his grandmother, with unlimited visitation for you." Not a total win, but close enough. Mikey would be with family, and I could see him whenever I wanted. As we walked out, Vanessa shoved past me, her face twisted like she'd bitten into a lemon. "This isn't over," she hissed. Elizabeth put a firm hand on my shoulder and said loud enough for Vanessa to hear, "Actually, I think it is, and if you make any more false reports, we will pursue legal action for harassment." That same afternoon, I went to pick Mikey up from the foster home. The foster mom looked kind, but her eyes were heavy. "He's barely slept," she told me softly. "He keeps asking for his daddy." When Mikey saw me, he hesitated for a second, like he wasn't sure I was real, and then he bolted, straight into my arms. "Are we going to Grandma's? And you'll be there too?" he asked, eyes wide. "Every single day, buddy. I promise." On the drive over, he clutched his Squish the octopus and finally dozed off, peaceful for the first time in days. I kept glancing at him in the rearview mirror, still not believing I had him back. At Mom's, we set up a little room for him. Weighted blanket, schedule board, favorite books, everything familiar. Mom stocked the fridge with his go-to foods. She muttered while arranging things, "I always knew that girl was trouble. Even as a child, she was a bully." I told her about Vanessa's parting threat. Mom shook her head, fierce. "Let her try something. We're ready now." That night, I slept on an air mattress beside Mikey's bed. Around midnight, I woke up to find him standing next to me, tears streaming. "Bad dream," he whispered. "The mean lady took me away again." I pulled him close. "Nobody is ever taking you away, Mikey. Not ever." He finally fell asleep in my arms. The next morning, CPS caseworker Jordan called. A specialist would visit our home the following day. After reviewing Dr. Chen's letter and the judge's ruling, "I don't anticipate any issues," he reassured me. So I spent the whole day cleaning, organizing charts, lining up meds and therapy notes like a soldier preparing for inspection. That evening, my phone buzzed with a strange text. "Check your email. You need to see this." Attached was a video, footage from Vanessa's wedding reception, shot from a guest's table. It showed me giving my toast, playing Mikey's sweet recording. But then, it showed what came after. Vanessa leaning in close, whispering furiously to guests, pointing at me with venom. Then, the moment that made my blood run cold. She pulled out her phone, typed something, and showed it to someone, who nodded. The timestamp? 9:47 p.m. The CPS call? Logged at 9:52. 5 minutes later, it was her. Right there. Proof. I forwarded the video to Elizabeth with one word. Proof. Her response came fast. "Bingo. Who sent this?" That's when the anonymous texter revealed himself. "Thomas, Vanessa's husband. I'm sorry about all this. I tried to stop her. I didn't know whether to believe him. I asked why he was helping." His reply, "Because what she's doing is wrong. She's obsessed with making you pay." She even convinced her bridesmaid to make a false statement to CPS. That was huge. I told Elizabeth. She warned me, "Don't push too hard," but if Thomas would testify, it could be game-changing. The next day, the specialist came, Dr. Ramirez. She was nothing like the first CPS worker. Calm, experienced, respectful. She crouched down to Mikey's level, asked him about his toys, his room, his schedule. She spent hours watching us interact. Nodded approvingly at his sensory corner, his communication cards, his weighted blanket. Finally, she looked me in the eye. You've created a very supportive environment. My report will reflect that. For the first time, I felt like we were almost free of this nightmare. But that evening, Thomas texted again. Vanessa knows someone sent the video. She's furious. Be careful. Not even an hour later, Jordan called. We received another report about you, this time claiming you're over-medicating Mikey. I almost laughed. It was so absurd. Every single medication is prescribed by Dr. Chun. I have the records. Jordan sighed. We know. We're not acting on it. Off the record, it's clear someone is targeting you. Vanessa was getting desperate, but in a way that was good. Every false report was another nail in her coffin. And when Dr. Ramirez's glowing report came in the next day, case closed. Mikey was officially coming home. I nearly broke down when Jordan told me, even apologized for how things had been handled. But all I could think about was hugging my son. We picked him up, and he was so happy he literally flapped his hands in joy, bouncing around the room. But just when I thought the storm had passed, Thomas sent another chilling text. Vanessa is planning something else. Watch your back. And I realized, this war wasn't over yet. When Sunday finally rolled around, I couldn't believe how many people showed up. Aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't seen in years were all crammed into my mom's living room. Guess nothing draws a crowd quite like family drama. Vanessa walked in with her parents, her face set like stone. But when she saw how many people had turned out, for just a second, her composure cracked. My mom wasted no time. She stood at the front, her voice sharp as a whip. I called you all here because my son and grandson have been targeted, harassed. And the worst part? It's coming from inside this family. The room went dead quiet. You could have heard a pin drop. Mom laid it all out. From the wedding rehearsal to the CPS calls to the bogus accusations. She even handed out copies of Dr. Ramirez's glowing report and the cease and desist letter. When she was done, she stared straight at Uncle Charles. We know false reports are still being made, and we know it isn't just Vanessa. Charles went beet red. I was just worried about the boy, he sputtered. Mom cut him off instantly. You've seen Mikey exactly twice in 3 years. Both times at family events you left early. You don't know the first thing about his needs. Then Aunt Linda piped up. Well, Vanessa told us Mikey was out of control at the rehearsal, that he was screaming and disrupting everything. I shot back. That's a lie. He was silent until Vanessa started screaming at him. Ask anyone who was actually watching. To my shock, one of Vanessa's own bridesmaids spoke up, avoiding Vanessa's glare. He's right. The little boy was just sitting there, smiling. Vanessa was the one who lost it. Vanessa's face twisted. You be. Enough. The word came from the doorway. Every head turned. It was Thomas. I hadn't even known he was coming. But there he was, walking straight up to stand beside me. Enough lies, Vanessa. I've watched this go on too long. First the wedding, then convincing Jenna to lie to CPS, then dragging your dad into it. The room was stunned. Vanessa flailed. You don't understand. He humiliated me at my own wedding. After you humiliated his son for simply existing, Thomas shot back. I told you to apologize then, and none of this would have happened. Uncle Charles shifted uncomfortably as the murmurs spread through the crowd. Disgusted looks were aimed squarely at Vanessa and her parents. Then Aunt Maria spoke, her voice trembling with anger. I always bring my daughter with Down syndrome to family gatherings. Are you saying she wouldn't have been welcome at your wedding either? That broke the dam. One by one, relatives started speaking up. Stories of times Vanessa had been cruel, exclusionary, manipulative. Years of silence suddenly poured out like floodwater. Uncle Charles finally stood, his voice shaking. This meeting is over. Vanessa, Linda, we're leaving. But before they could move, Mom planted herself in front of the door. Not until I make something perfectly clear, she said. If any of you file another false report, contact CPS, or spread lies about my son or grandson again, I will personally make sure the whole family knows exactly what you are, and we will pursue every legal option available. The room erupted in support, heads nodding, voices echoing agreement. For the first time, Vanessa looked around and realized she had no allies left. Without a word, she shoved past my mom and stormed out, her parents trailing behind her. Thomas stayed. His shoulders sagged, his face full of regret. I'm sorry I didn't stand up sooner. I kept hoping she'd change. I nodded, still reeling. Thank you for today. It mattered. In the days that followed, something amazing happened. Family members who'd kept their distance started reaching out. Aunt Maria invited Mikey over for a playdate with her daughter. Uncle James, who I hadn't spoken to in years, called to ask if Mikey might want to try fishing at his lake house. Vanessa had tried to isolate us. Instead, she'd united everyone else around us. A week later, Elizabeth called. We now have formal agreements from Vanessa, Charles, and Linda. They've acknowledged that any future false reports will lead to immediate legal action. I could barely breathe. So, it's really over? It looks that way, she said warmly. How are you and Mikey doing? I glanced outside. Mikey was crouched in the yard, magnifying glass in hand, completely engrossed in studying a bug, his element, his world. We're good, I said, a smile spreading across my face. Actually, better than before, and I meant it. 2 months later, we went to a family barbecue at my cousin William's house. Mikey clung to my hand at first, nervous, but then Aunt Maria's daughter spotted him and shouted, "Come see the sprinkler." She grabbed his hand and pulled him along. He shot me a questioning look. I nodded, and just like that, he joined the other kids, splashing and laughing. His happy flapping drew curious glances. But this time, instead of stares, there were kind questions. Acceptance. As I watched him run through the sprinkler, carefree and glowing, someone handed me a beer. I turned. It was Thomas. He nodded toward Mikey. Looks like he's having a good time. I exhaled, the weight of the past months finally slipping off my shoulders. Yeah, I said quietly, a deep contentment washing over me. He really is. Thomas watched Mikey racing through the sprinkler, laughing so hard he could barely breathe. Water sprayed everywhere, his arms flapping in pure joy. He seems to be having a good time, Thomas said softly, nodding toward him. I took a slow breath, letting the moment sink in. For the first time in what felt like forever, there was no tension in my chest. No fear of a knock at the door. No dread of another false report. Just my son, being happy. Yeah, I answered, a small smile tugging at my lips. Yeah, he really is. And for the first time in months, I let myself believe we were finally safe.
Thanks for watching. Today's train wreck is over, but tomorrow's ride is already on track. Subscribe so you don't miss it.